Some songs don't feel written. They feel delivered by some cosmic entity that wants to ensure we'll have a reference in time to mark a major shift in culture. Deep Purple's Soldier of Fortune is one of those rare tracks. Quiet, haunting, and almost too soft for a band known for explosive rock. Today, we're taking a moody dive into how this song happened, what was going on around the band, what the lyrics really mean, and why this song encapsulates melancholy and sadness better than almost any other song. This is the story of Soldier of Fortune. To understand this song, you have to understand Deep Purple in 1974, and maybe more importantly, where the world was at the time. The Vietnam War had ended in 1973, but it was in 1974 that the aftermath became real. Soldiers coming home to a country that they fought for, but didn't necessarily welcome them back in the best way possible. Regret, survivor's guilt, confusion, all played an important part to soldiers coming home from the war. On the other side of the pond, in the UK, where Deep Purple were based, there were major domestic issues: economic turmoil, inflation, political instability, and the energy crisis with rolling blackouts.
We were disappointed that the tour.
Yeah, I know. It
didn't
was all
materialize.
planned. It was all planned and everything. We really wanted to come, but it was just too much of a problem with the. It happened right at that point when everybody was on strike, and we couldn't. We were afraid that we wouldn't be able to do our whole show with the lighting and everything. You know, I think like an hour of our lighting would probably light London for a week. Just
It felt like the end of an era for rock musicians, and marked a shift in songwriting for many. Pink Floyd were working on Wish You Were Here. Led Zeppelin released Physical Graffiti with several reflective tracks. And Deep Purple was basically tearing itself apart. You see this referenced all over their history. Louder Sound describes how Ritchie Blackmore clashed with the rest of the band during Stormbringer recordings, especially over Soldier of Fortune. Blackmore was creatively frustrated. He was drawn to darker, more medieval sounding music. Meanwhile, Coverdale and Glenn Hughes were exploring soul, funk, and R&B. According to that same article, the singer of Deep Purple, Coverdale, said it was an album of compromise, highlighting how divided the band was. The early 70s were just a heavy time in general. The idealism of the 60s had kind of collapsed, and people were more jaded and hardened. Rock music was splintering into different directions, spawning more and more genres, and Deep Purple was burned out, emotionally exhausted. And out of that exhaustion came a quiet ballad that almost didn't fit the album where it ended up on. Soldier of Fortune was written mainly by Ritchie Blackmore, guitarist, and David Coverdale, lead singer, and both of them have said that this song came together unusually smoothly. Coverdale describes how Blackmore played him the original acoustic progression, and he immediately felt a sad, wandering quality to it. Blackmore said Soldier of Fortune is incredibly melodic. It was an interesting song because I wrote it with David Coverdale. He had the first part, but he didn't have a middle, so I put the middle in. And it was nice to be involved in a project where the people who actually wrote it, whereas a lot of the Purple stuff was written by basically two people, but it was always shared 5 ways, which was kinda ridiculous. You get into that let's be democratic thing sometimes. He has always expressed a long-standing love for medieval-style melodies and early music. In The Quietus, he talks about his fascination with Renaissance and medieval music and how that sound gripped him from a young age. And in other occasions, he expressed his wish to move away from loud rock, saying that he was drawn to private music, more acoustic, more meditative. Which fits why Soldier of Fortune ultimately became one of the best expressions of his creative output at the time. I wasn't schooled to play medieval or Renaissance music in the traditional sense, but it still really excites me. I take it into another realm, which is a little bit of rock and blues thrown in there. Jokingly, he also said that the song felt too small to be a Deep Purple track. Fans sometimes forget this, but Soldier of Fortune is only 3 minutes long and it lightly features the rest of the band. Although they accompany the song beautifully, it's essentially just Blackmore and Coverdale emotionally stripped down. There are no long-winded solos, there's no loud overbearing instruments, it's the kind of song that you can hum to. It's mastered to perfection, where you can hear all instruments working for the song, not themselves. And this isn't a dig at the loud, raunchier sounds that you can find in so many other bands, including Deep Purple. It's just the fact that this song was an anomaly, coming from a band that had never done something similar. Let's look at the lyrics, because they play such an important part in keeping the song going in your head. Simple words attached to a simple melody executed to perfection. I have often told you stories about the way I live the life of a drifter, waiting for the day when I take your hand and sing you songs, then maybe you would say, "Come lay with me and love me," and I would surely stay. Right from the start, you're dealing with a narrator who's been running their whole life. Not necessarily physically, but emotionally. In a way, I think we can see Blackmore as the drifter in this song. In many instances, I've always seen Blackmore as never fully belonging to the band, never staying in one lineup or project for too long, clashing with other people for control of his own creative vision. And that's that classic drifter energy, which honestly, I feel attached to. If you've seen my videos in the past, I think you'll see my focus doesn't stay on one thing for too long. This verse feels like a guy just wanting his girl to ask him to stay, to convince him to stay even. Which, if you look at it in the context of the song being about a wanderer, isn't it the ultimate dedication to someone? That they dream of finding that person that can ask them to stay, and they will voluntarily do it, fighting their own wanderer nature. And they dream of the day they'll sing someone a song and that someone will just ask them to stay, and they'll feel the unbothered bliss of finally being able to stay in one place. I think it's some of the most beautiful lines in music history. Generally, people might look at the drifter as someone that doesn't want to stay, but from my experience, most of them just haven't been asked to, so why would they? But I feel I'm growing older, and the songs that I have sung echo in the distance. Like the sound of a windmill going around. I guess I'll always be a soldier of fortune. The chorus of the song is all about regrets. Coverdale considered Stormbringer a conflicted album, emotionally and artistically. I think it's further proof of the challenges of working with his bandmates. The echoes are very symbolic here, a faded version of something that used to be alive, and for better or worse, you still acknowledge their existence. Which, if you know the history of Deep Purple and their many lineups, well, it just fits like a glove. Personally, it feels like someone is running out of time, and that he keeps doing the same thing over and over, leading him to think he will always be the same soldier of fortune, the same wanderer looking for something but never actually getting it in the end. From my perspective, it's less about the mercenary being emotionally bankrupt or literally a soldier. It's more about the wanderer doing the thing he always has been known for doing and hoping for a different result, for that one person that will finally ask him to stay. But like a windmill, it just keeps going around, going through the motions, never having the chance to break that cycle. It gets even clearer on the next verse. Many times I've been a traveler, I looked for something new. In days of old, when nights were cold, I wandered without you. But those days I thought my eyes had seen you standing near. Though blindness is confusing, it shows that you're not here. This is the realization. All of the time spent looking for something new to break the cycle. Now he realizes that he wandered without that person. He thought he was going towards her, to that person that would ask him to stay, but through blindness he couldn't see her. He would never see her. Always wandering, never staying in one place. The phrase, "stop to smell the roses," comes to mind for me. Imagine being a wanderer, going everywhere and anywhere you want, but you are never in one place long enough to make it worthwhile. It's a diluted experience, particularly if it's one that you can't share with that one person, the one that will ask you to stay. You can definitely look at the whole song and see it from the perspective of someone that already met their special person but they wandered on and now they lost the opportunity to be with her. It's such a versatile song because of how simple the words are, but how well put together they are. You can lose yourself on the song, live it different ways depending on your own experiences. It makes the song transcend the idea of the artist and deliver emotions and interpretations that weren't even considered when writing it. The main reason I decided to make this video was because I stopped to actually think what it would be like to be in some kind of war, cut off from all of the world, you know? And then one day you're just back into that world you left behind and the only thing you know is war. What else are you going to do but wonder? The world went on without you, why would you stay? You just try to find yourself, I suppose, but what if you never do? Will you just always be that soldier? It's awful to think where we are as humans nowadays and have these songs still fit all too well with our world. Not necessarily because of the wars we live with, although they fit, but our own personal struggles as well. We are in our own windmill every day, working for a better life to make dreams come true, only to find that one day we'll grow older and all of those things we did are just a speckle of our human experience when we don't share it with each other. Deep Purple weren't known for gentle ballads, they were the band that gave us Highway Star, Burn, Smoke on the Water. They almost single-handedly kick-started the metal scene with their hard rock. So when fans discovered this soft, introspective track at the end of Stormbringer, it felt different. It felt like the timestamp of an era that was about to bring so much change. And Deep Purple wanted to be a part of that change. Blackmore was furious that nobody was buying the idea of Soldier of Fortune. They didn't like it because it wasn't balls to the wall. And when you know the context of how it got released, it makes so much more sense. The song almost didn't fit the album it was in. The song was never a single, it never charted, it barely got live play. But decades later, it became one of the band's most streamed songs. Sometimes, quiet and shorter songs last longer. I hope you liked to learn more about Soldier of Fortune. It's one of my favorite songs of all time, and as I said, it has been on my mind a lot lately, so I wanted to share it all with you. Leave in the comments what your favorite Deep Purple song is and what it means to you. I'm always interested in other people's interpretations of songs and what they take from experiencing them. Thank you so much for watching, and bye bye.